welcome back to Inside. With India still digesting the impact of U.S. bribery charges against Gautam Adani, investors will be wondering whether it could trigger a wider loss of confidence in Indian markets or contagion for companies with close ties to the Adani empire. The stocks are up today with Adani Enterprises making some gains. Let's discuss that with our next guest. Sonam Srivastava is founder and fund manager at Wright Research and joins us live from Mumbai. Sonam, good to have you with us. So we're seeing gains for Adani stocks pretty much across the board. Were losses overdone then?
See, I think there's a short-term relief rally that seems to be happening in the Indian market. We've seen, sharper corrections. We've gone below our 200-day moving average. We're seeing a relief rally happen from these levels. But I think, along with the Adani issues, there are various other issues in the Indian market which are sort of stressing it. For example, there is earnings have been quite low this season. You're seeing a slowdown in consumption demand and deceleration of credit growth, etc. So I think while we are seeing a short-term relief, the FIIs are still not coming in. And I think we have to wait for a substantial return of the foreign capital before we say that, we're seeing a strong recovery.
But in terms of Adani shares, would you be a buyer? Would you buy the dip, given the fact that Adani shares did recover when it recovered from that Hindenburg report?
See, like many investors in India, I have burned my hands with Adani stocks a couple of times. Yeah, due to the corporate governance issues, the stocks tend to be highly volatile, and now the US, government is there to sort of indict him, and it's a very serious charge. So I think we'll just stay a little bit away from these stocks, and we'll see how these things turn out, right?
How do you think the Adani indictment might impact the overall Indian market?
See, Adani definitely has a huge presence across India, right? They own very significant Indian assets. They borrowed from public sector banks and private sector banks. A lot of Indian large mutual funds have, big positions in the Adani stock. So Adani definitely does have a lot of footprint across India, and something serious happening with Adani could impact the overall market. And I think with whatever is happening, people expect the government to also intervene and it taking a different shape altogether from here, right?
Some are suggesting that today's rally in India is driven by the BJP's win over the weekend. It could be an indication perhaps of policy continuity, especially in the wealthier states. How are you assessing that?
No, definitely. I think there's a short-term reaction to the election results, but I think many of the analysts before the election were sort of pricing in this victory. They expected this to happen, and I think if had the BJP not won, there would have been a knee-jerk reaction. So I expect again this reaction to be short-lived, and wait for some stronger cues like revival of demand in the economy or resurgence of FII capital into the country to come back before we say that it's a sustained rally.
So now for those wanting exposure to the Indian market, how should they be positioning themselves? What are your conviction calls?
See, in the Indian market, it's a whole range of industries and there's so many emerging things happening. I think, so while last year was all about infrastructure and PSUs, right now the themes have really shifted. We are focusing on more defensive companies. Obviously, the pharma pack has worked well and will continue to do well. You will see resurgence in the IT segment as well. I think the earnings have been positive. There has been good guidance coming out of IT industries, and we're expecting them to be stable and have a revival. Apart from these broader themes, I think there are specific sectors in India which are quite interesting. For example, we really like the electronic manufacturing industry, especially in the consumer durable space. You're seeing, very interesting stuff happening there, especially with electronic manufacturing companies like Dixon, PG Electroplast, etc. And then, I think the capital market theme in India is the theme to bet on, right? You're seeing those companies, for example, BSE, MCX, CAMS, Cape Tech, etc., do extremely well, and, capital market don't seem to be stopping in India, right? So these are some of the conviction calls that we sort of have.
Sonam, thank you so much for that. Sonam Srivastava, founder and fund manager at Wright Research. And before we go, let's take a look at how U.S. Treasuries are shaping up. Of course, there's been some relief in terms of the Treasury market on the back of percent being